Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy New Year. Today I'll be making my first tutorial for the year on how I made a twist skirt. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to see more of this in the future. Also put on your notification bell to be notified when I drop a new video. So without further ado, let's dive straight into the video. So to begin cutting, you first of all draft your basic skirt. You can make yours straight or you can make it A-line depending on what you want. So I've labeled my waist, my hip and my length. So I'm making it with this small size just to illustrate the twist to you. So I folded my pattern paper into two, and then before cutting your twist, you first of all need to place this on your fabric to cut your back and add in your zipper allowance. So after drafting your sketch, you're going to be making your dart at the side. So I remove my 1 inch sewing allowance I put, then I'll mark my dart. So my dart is just my waist divided by 4, which I use in cutting the skirt. I'll divide what I got into 2. That's how you get your dart for your normal skirt. And so then that line is just going to serve as my dart. I did not add any dart allowance because I'm not going to be needing that on this skirt. So this dart line is going to serve as my twist. As you can see in the picture, the twist is at the side of the leg, just like the dart leg. So I'm opening it up to mark my twist now. So after doing this, I'm going to make a curve at the bottom part of the skirt, because see in the style there's a curve on both sides of the front skirt. So then I'll just mark my slit length where how I want it to be open. So I marked the length I want, then I'll curve it to the midpoint. So after doing that, I'm also going to curve it at the other side a little bit. So this curving is not really necessary, it's just based on the style I want to make. You can leave yours straight if you don't want it to show your legs that much. So after doing this, if you look at the picture, there is like a deep corner V at the dart leg. So I'm just going to go down by ½ an inch or 1 inch depending on what you want. So I went down with like ½ an inch, and I'm going to connect the lines on the two ways to form like a corner V. So after doing that, I'm going to start cutting my twist. So at the side of the waist, or the hip side, I'm going to go down by 3 inches. You can go down by 4 or 3 inches depending on what you want. So I'm going to go down by 3 inches all the way at the midpoint and to the other side of the hip as well. And I'll connect the lines together, and it's still going to form as a V a little bit because you went down with ½ an inch at the front. So the lines is not supposed to be straight. So when you're done with that, you're just going to make your twist by sharing that 3 inches. I'm just going to share it into 3 different lines. You can make it 4, it depends on what you want. So this is going to serve as my drape. So I'm just going to share it on both sides of the skirt. So after you're done with that, you're just going to label it 1, 2, 3 on both sides of the skirt, so as to know which one is up and which one is bottom when you're cutting. So then after doing that, the amount I took, the inch I took in dividing those lines, I'm going to take same thing down. Like I said, it depends on whatever you take at the top. If it's 1 inch, just bring it down and mark it. So I just took like 3 lines, and so at the side, I'll go to the side of the hip and I'll mark 2 inches. So I'll connect the lines together, connect the 2 inches to meet with the ½ and ¼ inch. So just watch this video very well, because this skirt, the making of this skirt was very tricky, and if you don't get it, just you can go back and watch it again. So same thing you did at the other side, you're going to repeat that same process at the left or right side, whichever side it is for you. So I also marked 2 inches at the other side of the hip and I connected the lines together. So that is all for the front skirt. I'm just going to cut out that curved part at the bottom, and that is it for the drafting of the skirt. So next up, we're going to be cutting it on the fabric, and I'll show you how to achieve that. So I'm going to be cutting up that V I made at the top. We don't need that part anymore. So after cutting it out, this is what I've got. So this is how the skirt should look after you finish cutting it. So then I'm going to be opening up the lines. I'm going to be opening up all the lines and form my drape. So for the first part, I'm just going to keep that smaller part. Let's start with the bigger part first. So then I'm going to remove that 3-inch I first of all make. That 3-inch I first of all made, I'm going to cut that part off. So just watch very careful. But before you cut the part out, you're going to first of all label the down part of it. So I've already labeled the upper part 1 to 3. Then the down part, I'm going to place an arrow to know, okay, these two parts are going together, just like so. So then when you're cutting, you're going to get either a fresh pattern paper, or you're going to make whatever I'm going to be showing you now. You're going to be making it on your fabric. If you don't want to waste any pattern paper, you just cut directly on your fabric. So after cutting that 3 inches out, I'm going to be opening up the other lines. I'll open it up, but not to the end parts. So because I want to give it a little space, I want to drape it, so I'm not going to open it up to the end parts. So I'll just do that for all the lines. Just watch and see what I'm doing. So I'm done with the down part. I'm also going to do the same thing at the upper part. So mark your side and the mid part. So after marking that, I'm going to open it up and also not going to cut to the end part of the skirt. If you want to pleat the sides of the skirt, you can open it up to the ending, but I don't want to pleat mine. I want mine to be equal with the back of the skirt. So that's why I'm going to open it up, not to the end parts. So then this is how it looks after opening it up. So the upper part, I'm going to flip it outside, flip it to the opposite side. So just watch and see how I did it. So then when draping on my fabric, I'm just going to open it up facing like so. So I'm going to get a fresh pattern paper, because I'm going to use a fresh pattern paper to illustrate what I'm explaining right now. So here is another tool that I'll be using. I'm using a paper tape. You can use cello tape, this the white type, anyone you have. So this is my fresh pattern paper. I'm going to gum the sides and open up. I'm going to open up the pieces, open up the lines in any amount of space you want, how twisted you want it to be. If you want it to be very twisted, you can open it up wider, or you can open it up small. Doesn't have any exact measurements, but you can choose to make it 1 inch or 1.5, but it should not be more than 2 inches. So this other part that I turned to the opposite side, note that the hop is now facing down, while the midpoint, which is the joining, is now facing up. So I'm going to be opening it up equal to the other side. So even if I open the other side with 1 inch, I'm going to open
So
this
if you're
other side
draping
like
this directly
wider
on your
to
fabric, you just
match
need
with
to
the
add
other one that
like
I've
1
opened.
inch
So
allowance
as you
for
can see, I've
folding.
already opened it up.
But
So
since I'm draping on a pattern paper, I don't need to add any allowance, but I'd advise that you drape it on your fabric directly so as not to waste pattern paper. So I'm just going to be connecting the lines together, so cut them like so. Just watch and see how I'm doing it. So after I'm doing that, I'm going to be removing all the pieces out of it. If this is your fabric, you just need to remove all the paper. So but because this part now, I did not use a full pattern paper, I only made it half, I'm just going to remove it halfway. I'm going to keep this big one apart, so let's get to the smaller part. So for the smaller part as well, I'm going to be labeling in the other parts, and I'll cut out that 3 inches just the same way I did for the front. I'll cut out the 3 inches and I'll label the other sides. So remember that as the 3 inches part is up like that, I'm just going to be flipping it opposite, and so the sides are still, the mid part are still going to meet, but just that the upper part is now at the bottom and then the down part is now at the up. So then I'm going to be opening the lines just the same way I did at the other bigger parts, opening it up to the end but not totally to the end. Same thing for the smaller part as well. Then I'll get a fresh pattern paper and spread them out. So I'll spread them equally to match each other. So as you can see, I'm done spreading it now. This is what I've got. I'm also going to cut it out. I'm going to cut it out equally, but if you're cutting on your paper, like I said before, you add 1 inch allowance. So don't mind about the shape. The shape might be looking curved, it might not be looking like your hip shape, but don't mind about it. So I'll just notch the midpoint of this. I'm just going to make it equal and notch the midpoint. So then if you're cutting on your paper, just transfer this to your fabric and add your allowance, and then just fold all the sides around. So I'll just place the two sides together, the two fronts together, and I'll label it front and back, so that when I'm placing on my fabric, I'll know which one is at the front and which one is at the back. So for the fabric, I'm making use of a Duchess fabric. It's a material that has little stretch on one side of the fabric. So if you're a bigger person that has like hip 40 and above, you can use 2 yards or 1.5, but to be on the safer side, just buy 2 yards. Then I'm going to be making use of the side that has little stretch for my body. So I placed my pattern on my fabric just the way I placed it, front side facing front and back. So after cutting it, I added my allowance of 1 inch. So I'm just going to folding it inside, or you can weave and fold once. So after folding the down and the sides, I'm just going to be leaving the hip so as to join them to my back. So then I'll fold the up into 2, and then I'll make a straight stitch of about 1/2 inch. So just try and watch very carefully. I'm just pinning it down, then I'll take it to my sewing machine and sew. So when you're sewing, make sure to leave about 1/2 or 1/4 inch space, so you don't need to sew it to the end. So that place, that space you're leaving, is where you're going to insert the other one to form your twists. If you've done sewing it, you're just going to press it down with your iron, and then after that, the upper part, the other side of the skirt, I'm just going to be inserting it into that small space I left. I'll insert it and then I'll turn it and fold together. So just try and watch very carefully, because it can be quite tricky. So then after folding it like so, I'll go ahead and sew it with 1/2 inch. I'll sew it in a way whereby the stitch will not enter the other side of the skirt. So then there's going to be a little hole, but when you're wearing it, the hole will not show. Well, see how it looks now. So After doing this, if you've already folded the upper part of the skirt, you don't need to add any band. It's all just going to be okay. Then you join the sides to the back of your skirts and then add your zipper to the zipper allowance if you made any zipper allowance. So this is it for the skirt. So for the upper part, you can just stitch it a little bit. You can just make like 1 inch length of stitch to it, and then for the down part, like for the slit part, you can sew it down a little bit, or you can leave it like so. But if you want to sew it down, just join the two pieces together and make a stitch to your desired length. And if you're done with that, that is all for the skirts. So the skirt might be looking very funny because somebody's not wearing it yet, but when you wear it, you see the beauty of the skirt. So when you're done, just go ahead and test the skirt and rock it to that event you want to rock it to. So this is just me rocking my own skirt. Sorry about the video not being clear. I'm using a snapshot filter, but this is how it looks on me, and it's looking so pretty. I love the skirt. Like, I want to rock it every day to every event right now. Please feel free to share this video to your friends and also subscribe. It helps us to grow. Thanks, and see you next time. Bye.